Hey everyone, this is the Coffee with the Geek Show, and it is March 2016. My guest today and I have just come off spring break, so we should be nicely refreshed. With me today is Amber Brown, and I'm going to bring up Amber's uh, all of the work that she's done here. I'm going to give her background. And Amber is coming from Texas, and she's a sixth grade world cultures and geography teacher. I could spend a lot of time talking about that. And it's in Red Oak, Texas, and has been an educator for 8 years. So you still got a long ways to go, Amber. She received a master's degree in education in 2012. And with the help of new technology and district technology initiative, she's been able to transition from a direct teaching style to more facilitator style, which I like that concept, and we'll talk about that. She likes teaching students not only the content, but collaborative research and presentation skills. And Amber last year completed over 60 hours, professional development and technology trainings, and is recognized as a Digital Fluency Master. Again, another nice title. And by the Region 10 Education Service Center. And at her district, she facilitates teacher trainings on how to effectively use technology in the classroom while maintaining rigor, which is quite a challenge, but a good one. So Amber, thank you for joining me today.
No, thank you for having me.
And just to give you some background, like most of my guests, I just kind of use my Twitter feed and see, follow great teachers. And I came across what you were doing, and you had posted a lot of really cool things. And what I liked about your Twitter feed is you actually posted some things that you're doing with actual students, which is nice. So it wasn't just retweeting, which is what I usually do, but you're actually posting some things that you were doing with your own. So with that in mind, my first question to you, Amber, is tell me about your class or the classes that you work with and some of the ideas that you use with your students.
Well, like you said, I teach world cultures and geography. So we're busy studying about the landscapes of the world, their history, their economies, their governments, and their culture. And with the geography part, one thing that I've started doing a few years ago is Skype in the classroom. And we play Mystery Skype, where I coordinate with another teacher somewhere else in the world, and we get our classes together. And they play a game of guessing what geographic location the other class is in. And I started that a few years ago, and the kids really, really like that. That was kind of like my very first attempt and try at really using technology in the classroom. And so they like that. One new thing that I did a few weeks ago was have my students use Storybird, and it's a web-based app or tool that students can use to create stories. And they have preloaded images that the students have to really be creative and use the existing images that artists have uploaded on Storybird and then create their story. So how we use it in social studies is you have the history of some place, and our objective is for them to trace the history of Africa or something like through colonization and all that. And they're retelling it using different art pieces from the Storybird and then creating their own story, like historical fiction. And so I like that. They like it. They found it challenging because, I can't find a picture of a king. Well, you gotta have to be creative. So it fosters that creativity. So I really like that we were doing that. And another thing that we have not started doing, but we will, our district has an excellent education foundation, and they just awarded my team with a grant that will allow us to purchase technology and materials for students to do virtual tours using Google Cardboard. And so it's kind of like where they have the viewers and they'll integrate it with the Street View on Google Maps or Google Earth. And it will allow them to visit any location in the world, and it will enable them to feel as if they're actually there. So as soon as we get the items purchased for that, we'll have fun doing that. And so I'm really excited about that.
So those are some pretty great examples. Do you see, just kind of following up on that last thing with Google Cardboard, I've seen it, the demonstration of it, and I think it has some really awesome potential. Do you see kind of the virtual reality or augmented reality? Do you see that as maybe a trend in the future?
I sure hope so. It's before probably this year, I haven't seen it really integrated into the classroom, because I see it commercialized, and used, just in the regular world. But for a student to, especially in a class like geography, you want them to be able to see the different landscapes and the different places of the world. And a lot of times students don't have the opportunity to travel. So I really hope that for students, especially that don't get as exposed, or, for schools whose budgets are not there for them, for them to be able to take their students on field trips or what have you, this is a great alternative. So I sure hope that that can be something that's going to become more of a, more common.
It sounds from what you're describing, and even when I talked about your intro, it seems like your district has kind of created a climate to promote your ideas. Is that a correct assessment? And do you think that's an integral piece for really taking off with technology?
I think that it is definitely important that a district like supports the teachers. I have an excellent district that they encourage the use of technology in the classroom. For example, my campus is a BOIOD campus, and it's technology centered. It's a brand new campus in Red Oak where they've transformed the look of the classroom, where they've included short throw projectors, collaboration walls, and furniture pieces that allow and foster collaboration. And they encourage teachers to write grants for specifically technology and other things like that. And so when your district is on board, it just makes it that much easier. It makes less red tape that you have to go through. And so I think that's a very important piece, or else it'd be kind of difficult.
You sound like you're really becoming, I think, a leader in EdTech. And again, just from getting the vibe from your Twitter feed, you really seem like you're embracing kind of a leadership role. Is that something just part of you? Is that, again, part of your district maybe encouraging that? Is it both? And as maybe an EdTech leader, what are the things you'd like to see? In other words, if you could have your vision of the perfect school, and maybe your school is already, it sounds kind of like your school is on their way. Mm-hmm. Where do you see school going, the true 21st century school? What is it going to look like?
Well, to answer that first part of your question, I think that I'm both. I'm a person that likes to step outside of the usual, no matter what type of thing that I'm doing. I like to see, what can I do that I like, find my niche, like what I like, and then make it happen. I think that's what I've always liked to do just as a person. And so in school, when I started the Skype in the classroom several years ago, I don't think that it was as prominent or known about, at least in the area that I'm in. I would see it, other places, but not here. And so I said, well, why not just try to write a grant for it? And it got approved. So I was like, great, I like this. And so, I like to do new stuff. It can be scary and new, but that's part of the challenge that I like. I don't think that I'm by any means an expert. I'm still learning a lot in technology in the classroom. But I enjoy learning and I enjoy sharing. what I've learned so far with other, people, because then it just makes the whole climate of the, place I think that you're working in better when you're not the only person that, can do what you do.
Right.
And then the second part of your question, when you asked, what did you ask the last part? I'm sorry, I forgot.
I guess maybe give me your vision of what the school is going to look like in the future.
Oh yeah, 21st century.
Yeah.
I sure hope that more classrooms foster collaboration like what I'm seeing in my district. And technology makes that really just so much easier. With the ease of like Google apps, things like that, and all those tools that are available help kids be able to collaborate more. And so I sure hope that more districts find ways to figure out how they're going to allow students to collaborate using technology, which is one of my kind of my like teaching philosophy is collaboration in the classroom using technology.
What you've already kind of mentioned some of the trends you're looking for in augmented reality, but are there some other trends you've kind of been keeping your eye on, or other maybe apps or technologies that you'd like to explore in the future?
As far as apps, I've already mentioned like Google apps for education. I really like the ease of those, and I use it a lot in my classroom, and many more teachers are now starting to and have been using the Google apps for education for a long time. So I sure hope that that's a trend. For example, like Google Classroom to administer assignments, to take in assignments, things like that. For example, I'll have my kids work on, well, my kids will just basically, I'll give them a topic and they're in charge of figuring out how to research it and researching it and then presenting their peers with the information that they found. And so they're sitting in their groups or their teams, like I call them teams, their teams, and they have their devices, whether it's their phone or their iPad or their laptop, and they're researching like maybe 60% of the time. And the other percent, they're creating some type of presentation, maybe it's a slide or a Prezi, in order for them to then later present to the rest of the class. And that kind of like wouldn't be possible or, without that. And I like to go up to as far as I can go on the SAMR model as possible, not just using technology to just replace things like, well, we used to use pencil and paper, now we can use a Google form. But I like to say, or, I like to see how can we go just above substitution. And so the Google Apps for Education, I like those. I also like other ones like ThingLink. I use that a lot, especially in my content area where they are working with maps a lot. So my students get to make interactive maps using ThingLink, and it allows collaboration too, where multiple students can contribute to it at a time. I also try to find ways that, those tried and true methods like Socratic seminars have been around for, I don't know how long, but I've started to integrate todaysmeet.com, where it's a back channel. And in a regular Socratic seminar where the students who are on the outer circle are just pretty much observing and taking notes. Well, with Today's Meet, they can actively participate by submitting their questions or their comments while the inner circle is facilitating the discussion. And I'll have the projector live where students are just submitting questions and comments, and then the inner circle will see, oh, Elizabeth just asked us a question, let's go to it, or whatever it is. And so I like to still use things that I've always used, from years ago, but I'll try to integrate technology whenever I can. So I like those.
You mentioned the samurai model. There goes the overhead. It has to be part of the school, right? You mentioned the SAMR model, which I found interesting because as you were explaining a lot of the activities you were doing with your kids, that's exactly what I was thinking, is that whole redefinition piece. And, I think, do you find that other teachers, and maybe this is, again, a district initiative, do you find that they're talking that talk now of the SAMR model and going beyond just the substitution way where you're, again, the paper and pencil now going to a word processor? Is your district there, or do you see other school districts there and having those maybe deeper conversations about how technology can go, how we want our kids actually to use technology?
Well, I can speak for Red Oak, and they're, like I said, very on board, and they even brought in tech specialists to train us, and that was one of our pieces, the SAMR model. I'm not sure what other districts are doing, but I think that it's very important that we not just, do what you said, just substitute things. We have to figure out ways to create and use technology in ways that we couldn't before, or do things in ways that we couldn't before using technology. So I think that, once again, it's important that the district, supports it. Red Oak sure does. So, and that's something that I think it takes time, though, too. It's not something that I learned how to do right off the bat. It takes a little bit of like planning, forethought, and just how am I going to integrate this in with my teaching style now? And how are the students that I teach going to, benefit from this, and how are they going to react to it? I think it's a little bit of a learning curve for the teacher itself, for the district and everything. But I think it is very, important. It's integral.
So tell me, who are maybe your inspirations? And I know when I ask this question to educators, they usually say their students are their inspirations. But, maybe who are people beyond your students? Who's inspired you, and who's inspired your maybe learning? Who's inspired your tech use or your tech initiatives? Inspirations?
I really love just the climate of my whole school and district, and the people that I work with on my team, my principals, my curriculum coordinators, and my technology specialists. They really are very good at encouraging me and others. So when I come to work every day, I'm already encouraged, and I'm inspired because I have the support. And so, I like that. When I went to a conference or a training last year, I heard a motivational speaker, and he's on Twitter. His name is Kevin Honeycutt, and I'm not sure you've heard of him.
Yes,
yeah, I had a chance to hear him speak. He came, and he has just like really inspiring messages of just what we're talking about. So I like to go to his page often, and to see what he's doing and see what he's saying. And so, and just once again, like my whole teaching philosophy, I think that students should be the ones that are doing most of the work. Students should be the ones that are teaching each other and talking to each other. And I'm going to facilitate your learning so that, you can get more out of what you're doing. And that, that motivates me to, keep teaching.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great way to look at it. And I think I too share that. I remember Harry Wong, who's an educator for 40 years, had said, the person doing the working is the person doing the learning. And I think it falls in line with that. And I have seen Kevin Honeycutt. Kevin has done a lot of, I've seen him twice in his presentations, and I've seen him at ISTE and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely an inspiration. So that was a good resource. Last question here before we get to the Speed Geek questions, and it's kind of off of where I met you in Twitter, and we talked before we started kind of hit the record button is just about Twitter. Can you tell me about Twitter and your professional learning from it?
It's broadened my professional learning community so much. I've learned things that I wish I could like gain professional development hours just by surfing Twitter. Like you can learn so much just by scrolling through and reading the awesome articles that people are like tweeting and retweeting. And so I would encourage any educator that's, wants to make a real impact or wants to learn more, wants to, share what they're learning, to go on and get their professional learning community set up on Twitter. It's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And you are Amber Brown Teach, right?
I am Amber Brown Teach.
Okay. So definitely follow you. You have some really good stuff and some practical ideas on using, in classroom stuff. So I really enjoy reading what you're doing. So, all right, it is time for the Speed Geek question. So I'm going to share my screen and then so everyone can see the screen and the wheel of, that's your interview question. Let me just bounce over to the wheel decide. This is a website. If anybody wants to create one of these, you can. But I'm just going to click. Can you see that? Let me make sure everyone can see that.
I can't see it yet.
Oh, there we go. I think I got it now.
All right. Yep.
All right. Let me make sure I can sharing it to present to everyone as well. Okay. I think we are good. So here goes. I'm going to hit the. Okay. So your first one is. I don't know if I can see the question. It looks like favorite social network. Can you see that?
Favorite social network. My favorite social net. Oh, what?
Yeah, go ahead. It's a Gryffindor or Slytherin, actually. I'll answer you both. Are you a Harry Potter fan at all? And Gryffindor or Slytherin? So let me tell you, Gryffindor is kind of the cool kids, the Harry Potter gang, and Slytherin's kind of the bad boys, which.
Oh well, Gryffindor then. Gryffindor.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, let me follow up with what's your favorite social network? Let's go back to that one.
Okay. Favorite social network. I kind of am all over the place. Of course, Twitter, but I also do a lot of Facebook for personal and educational reasons. And pretty much, I'm on Instagram too, but just purely for hobby reasons. But it'd have to be between Facebook and Twitter.
Okay, Facebook and Twitter. Yeah, I like that. And I kind of separate those two. My Facebook for personal, Twitter for professional. Break them down. All right, so the next question is your first storage device, and you being a young person, it probably is. So floppy disk.
Oh, wow, this would age me.
Trust me, I've got you beat, I think.
Well, I do remember the floppy disks when we were in, learning how to use a computer, those big, huge ones that we had to learn binary code.
Yes.
So yeah, I remember those. And then I had the other smaller discs. So yeah.
Okay. I go all the way back to cassette tape. So I think I've got most people beat on that one.
Yeah, I have a few of those too.
Okay. I'm going to actually skip this one. Star Wars or Star Trek? This will be an easy one.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm not a fan of either. But in my household, my husband and my 4-year-old daughter are big Star Wars fans.
Okay.
Star Wars fans.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
That's good. And let me just finish up with one last one. I know I've given you some bonus questions here, but what's your favorite tablet? So do you use iPads, Chromebooks?
I use an iPad for school. My district is an iPad district. So we all have iPads in my school. And but I'm an Android person, so
Okay.
personally, I like the Galaxy tablets too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, Amber, it was great meeting you from across the miles, and keep up the good work. I'm definitely going to be following you on Twitter, and let's keep in touch, okay?
No problem. Thank you for having me.